EA Motive has done a fabulous job with the Dead Space remake, which has helped introduce this survival horror classic to a brand new audience. While the game doesn't veer too far from the rulebook in terms of story or gameplay, the Dead Space remake is rife with small but smart changes that should make this game worth experiencing for returning fans. The corridors of the USG Ishimura are filled with neat little details that are easy to miss, and here are the best Dead Space details that you probably failed to notice. How Isaac Clarke gradually catches his breath. Much like the original, Dead Space Remake features sections where Isaac must hold his breath for a while before catching it back when you come out through the other side. When Isaac is short on breath upon entering a safe zone, you'll notice that he gradually fills his lungs with air. The animation starts with rapid breathing, followed by regular breaths once he attains a sense of normalcy, and while this doesn't affect gameplay in any meaningful way, it certainly adds a touch of realism to this excellent gameplay and the protagonist. Creepy dolls will scream when you hit them. During your adventures in the USG Ishimura, you will come across weird baby dolls at several points during the adventure. You might be mistaken to think of them as just a dressing for a level, but they're much more than that. If you hit a doll, you'll hear creepy screaming voices as they flail around the environment. You can shoot them with your guns, push them with a melee strike, or throw them with your kinesis, and they'll make the same noise that's sure to catch you off guard if you're not aware. Chapter names contain an acronym. While this was something that existed within the original version of the game as well, it's a fun little detail regardless. The chapter names in Dead Space look pretty unassuming at first glance, but if you look at them closely, they actually contain an acronym that foreshadows the grand revelation of the story. So if you put together the first letters of the chapter names in order, it reads, spoiler alert, Nicole is dead. Gunshots push back against fog. Dead Space Remake makes gorgeous use of thick volumetric fog to instill a sense of horror within the player. There will be plenty of times when you might just be able to make out a necromorph hiding behind a wall of fog and instantly put yourself on high alert. But what you might not notice about the fog is that it reacts to gunshots as well, so if you fire off a bullet in the fog, the bullets will push back against the wall in a straight line before hitting the target. It's a tiny detail, but it's these kinds of things that really contribute to the impressive presentation of the game. Necromorphs will vary according to the areas. As you might already know, necromorphs come in different shapes and sizes, and while there are different types of these creatures, like brutes and slashers, you're also going to find some variety between each type of creature depending on the areas where you find them. So necromorphs on the mining deck might have armor attached to their body, which makes killing them noticeably harder, while this isn't the case with the same creatures found on other parts of the ship. Twitchers can be stopped by hitting the stasis module on their body. Players would most likely have to come across Twitchers during their playthrough, which is a specific breed of necromorph that can traverse large distances pretty quickly. You also might have noticed a glowing stasis module on this enemy's body as well, and while hitting it can be pretty challenging due to its speed, if you do manage to perform that feat, you'll unleash a Stasis Blast, which will not only kill the enemy instantly, but will freeze any nearby enemies caught within a short radius. Dedicated players can use this as a high-level combat strategy, but it will require a lot of practice and effort. Entering vacuum sucks nearby objects into space. Dead Space Remake features plenty of areas filled with vacuum, and when you enter any such area, any nearby objects will be sucked into the endless void with great force. Sure, it doesn't affect gameplay, but it's still a neat little detail that showcases the attention to detail the environment artists and level designers over at EA Motive have put into the remake. Stomping on enemies raises Isaac's adrenaline levels. Following in the footsteps of its predecessor, Dead Space does a fabulous job of depicting Isaac's frenzied mental condition and heightened senses through its new Alive system. Isaac's adrenaline levels and breathing alter depending on your actions in the game, and if you stomp on a fallen necromorph, his adrenaline levels will immediately strike to reflect his feelings of rage and fear. Using melee strikes to break fuse cables for doors. Players are going to find many locked doors in Dead Space, and many of those require shooting at exposed cables to open them. One's natural instinct would suggest shooting at these cables, and that works. But did you know that you could save up on precious ammo by resorting to a melee strike, or throwing an object with your telekinetic abilities and it works just as well? Well, now you know. Standing too close to the marker mine blurs your vision. Those familiar with the Dead Space lore would know that the markers can be dangerous objects that use telepathic signals to communicate with one's mind. And if you get too close to the marker in the real game, the camera starts to blur out to signify the effect of this alien object on Isaac's mind. Dead Space Remake 2 tease. Teasing future games through Easter eggs has been a trend in gaming for some time now, and it seems that EA Motive is teasing a Dead Space 2 remake with a new collectible text log in the game. You find this specific text log in New Game Plus, which details a conversation between two characters about employment opportunities at the Sprawl on Titan. This massive space station serves as the backdrop for Dead Space 2, so it's pretty likely that a remake of the second game could be in the works. That said, it's advisable to keep your expectations in check, since EA Motive hasn't confirmed anything at the moment. Empty cartridges float in 0G. If Isaac reloads his weapon during a 0G section, that empty cartridge wouldn't obviously fall down but keep floating in space. It's yet another one of those little but significant instances of immaculate attention to detail that culminates to make this remake one hell of a game. An alternate ending. One of the best new additions in the Dead Space remake is an alternate ending for the story, but unlocking it requires some hard work on your behalf. After beating the game at least once on a difficulty of your choice, you'll have to jump into a New Game Plus and complete the campaign while collecting all 12 of marker fragments scattered across the ship. Once you do that and roll credits, you'll be greeted to an alternate ending where we see Isaac Clarke heavily influenced by the marker signal. He seems to be talking to his dead girlfriend, and he says that he needs to build something before they can return home. New armor and New Game Plus. Dead Space allows players to upgrade Isaac's armor, and the max level for the same caps out at level 5 for your first playthrough. Those who jump into a New Game Plus will unlock a cool new rig schematic in the shop, but purchasing this would require a hefty sum of 99,000 credits, so you'll have to save up a good chunk of your money for this item. In addition to looking really cool and fresh with its black and white design, this armor also provides 30% extra protection against damage from enemies, so it's a pretty useful purchase when you think about it. And that brings us to the end of the video. A quick request: we upload new videos every single day, and if you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing. It really helps us out. Also, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon so that you can receive daily video updates. Thanks for watching.